Hello and welcome to another episode from Consist. Today we are going to talk about filibuster. Pissed off at the gridlocks in Washington and wondering why nothing gets done? Perplexed at the thought of leaving nearly 700,000 men and women who live in Washington DC without a representation in the legislative branch of the government? Wondering how on earth it is okay to leave out the 3.2 million people who live in Puerto Rico from having any say in the presidential election? Are they not worth as much as people who live in other states? A citizen living in Wyoming is as equal as a citizen living in Puerto Rico. But one has the right to vote and the other doesn't. What kind of a citizen is he? Ever wondered what kind of democracy says it is okay to lose the popular vote and still get the top job? Are you surprised? Please don't be. America is a democracy only in the books, not in reality. Thanks to filibuster. For a long time, I did not know that filibuster had its roots in slavery until I heard Obama call it a Jim Crow relic.
If politicians want to honor John, and I'm so grateful for the legacy and work of all the congressional leaders who are here, but there's a better way than a statement calling him a hero. You want to honor John? Let's honor him by revitalizing the law that he was willing to die for. And by the way, naming it the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, that is a fine tribute. But John wouldn't want us to stop there, just trying to get back to where we already were. Once we pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, we should keep marching to make it even better by making sure every American is automatically registered to vote, including former inmates who've earned their second chance. By adding polling places and expanding early voting and making Election Day a national holiday. So if you are somebody who's working in a factory, or you're a single mom who's got to go to her job and doesn't get time off, you can still cast your ballot. By guaranteeing that every American citizen has equal representation in our government, including the American citizens who live in Washington, D.C. and in Puerto Rico. They're Americans. By ending some of the partisan gerrymandering so that all voters have the power to choose their politicians, not the other way around. And if all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic, in order to secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
Welcome to the 21st century America that loves to still live in the 18th century. So if you are happy that the Democrats have won the Senate Majority Leader's post, then please understand that it has its benefits. But that does not mean that the Democrats will be able to get a lot of things done. In fact, there is a good possibility that nothing will get done. A simple majority, 51 votes out of the 100-seat Senate, is not good enough to pass legislations anymore due to the filibuster. It just takes one senator to object to a bill, and any one senator can do that with a simple email or a quick phone call. It then takes the requirement to pass the bill from simple majority to a supermajority. After one senator triggers the filibuster, you will need 60 votes instead of 51 votes to pass the legislation. Things have become so partisan in the last few decades that you can only dream of passing a legislation with a supermajority. So what happens? Nothing happens. The Congress passes a bill, it reaches the Senate, one senator triggers the filibuster, then the bill needs 60 votes and it gets tanked. Remember Newtown, Connecticut, when a 20-year-old murdered 26 people, 20 children aged between 6 and 7 years old were laid to rest. A mindless act that shook the entire nation to its core. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, there was bipartisan effort to bring out some sensible background checks legislation to stop such events from happening in the future. There were 54 senators who were ready to pass the bill, both Democrats and Republicans. All it required was a single senator to raise an objection, which duly happened. And the background checks legislation, a bill that was supported by people from both the sides, failed to become the law because it needed 60 votes, and we were able to get only 54 in the Senate. So even if the majority of the senators agree on something, their collective decision is never going to see the light because one senator is all it takes to kill the bill by raising the requirement to a supermajority. So now you must be thinking, then how on earth did the GOP fill the Supreme Court? In 2013, then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid changed the rules to reduce the requirement for presidential nominations to a simple majority, but he excluded Supreme Court nominations. That is how the Republican Party, led by Mitch McConnell, was able to block Merrick Garland. After blocking Garland, when the Republicans gained power in 2016, they changed the rules again and brought down the requirement for Supreme Court nominations to a simple majority, and then they pushed through Neil Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett. Well played, GOP, is all I'm able to say. Now it is being reported that the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, is looking for assurances from the Democrats that they will not yank the filibuster. How noble he is. The reason why the GOP was able to get things done with the Supreme Court was because it required a simple majority of 51 votes instead of 60. But now they want the filibuster to stay because it gives them, the minority party, some control over Washington. It's kind of a code word for continuing the gridlock. If the United States has to start moving towards and start behaving like a true democracy, then we need a ton of legislation to be passed. As Obama said in that address, which you saw a little earlier, we need to expand voting rights. We need to honor people who live in Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico who remain disenfranchised and cut off from the political process for no fault of theirs. But it hasn't been done for such a long time because it is inconvenient for one political party. Even the electoral college system needs to be given the marching orders. But nothing is going to happen unless the filibuster is removed. It is a Jim Crow relic, a painful reminder of slavery. It was created to stop, drag, and thwart the civil rights movement in the 1800s. It was used by politicians who openly advocated white supremacy and wanted to stop the United States becoming more inclusive and progress towards a multi-ethnic society. Now it is being used by politicians to hold the country from moving forward because it helps some of them to win. Biden has to go big and he has to be bold. If he truly cares about the suffering of the people in the country, then he needs to start by getting rid of the filibuster and establish the majority rule once and forever. The framers of the Constitution never asked for a supermajority for passing laws. They understood the difficulty and the evil it brought with it. They added the supermajority requirement for specific instances such as conviction on impeachment charges, expelling a member from Congress, or while proposing constitutional amendments, and to override presidential vetoes. They wanted the Senate to get its business done with a simple majority. But the politicians who came after them introduced the filibuster as a means of obstruction, and today that obstruction has become the norm. The Senate is now a 60-vote institution. Instead of being the 51-vote institution it was designed to be. As long as that remains the case, nothing will get done. We can all enjoy the gridlocks and the calls for compromise as long as we want. And all it will do is enable the minority to keep dictating to the majority and keep the path open for a demagogue to rise up to the White House again. If the country has to move forward, then this Jim Crow relic must be dumped 600 feet under the Senate floor. Thanks for watching. If you like it, please subscribe.